the British government has a competition policy, it has a competition authority, there's a competition to market authority, and that authority really has done very little. In fact, the City of London celebrates its involvement in mergers and acquisitions here in the UK and across the rest of the world, and everyone seems to think that this is a really good thing. Look at all this money that's being invested in mergers and acquisitions, but actually what's happening is these mergers and acquisitions are leading to very concentrated market power, and that's leading to wealth extraction. So actually governments do have the power to take action, they just choose to not do that.
We've seen for example, recently with the demise of Morrisons being bought up by these hedge funds, another supermarket which is owned by hedge funds. It does seem as if we're getting into the situation where there's a handful of big investment funds, John, that are pretty much owning everything. So there isn't any real, obviously, for say Pepsi and Coke, both owned by Vanguard. There's these massive companies like BlackRock too that seem to own everything now.
Well, that's quite right, and again, it seems to be unquestioned that either hedge funds or private equity funds are buying up absolutely everything, and no one's actually asking, well, is this a good thing? And the answer is absolutely not. It's not a very good thing at all. In fact, quite the opposite, because this financialization of the entire economy is simply accelerating the process of creating wealth extracting monopolies.
Can you just explain what you mean by that term, financialization?
Yes, what I mean is that typically the private equity model is to buy a perfectly good company, and Morrisons is a perfectly good company. And of course, they're now private equity is now beginning to look at Sainsbury's and possibly even Tesco's. What they'll typically do is load the company with loads of debt. Very often that debt is sitting offshore. The company is then forced to pay huge amounts of interest to service this huge debt. Alongside that, they will typically cut staff costs. They'll cut back on investment in real things, in improving quality of service to customers. Cuts across the board in order to immediately boost profitability, which will boost the returns to the private equity people, but at the cost of lower wages, worse working conditions for employees, and probably higher prices in the long run for consumers.